Hi people, a brief update on my readings of the 21 Lessons of Merlin. I'll show you my book. This is Douglas Munro's 21 Lessons of Merlin, that me being in my second childhood at 58 years old, I've recovered the book just like I was taught at school. Look at the nice cover that I've got on here. I hope this turns out the right way round on the actual video, because to me from here it looks backwards. Okay, so there's the cover. I think the last time I read from this book was about, I don't even know. When I open up the YouTube videos, it says 5 years ago, but I'm certain it was a lot more than that. Though how can it be? How can it be? Because my kids were camping with me when I was reading this book from time to time. There's the inside cover. That's a postcard. I'm trying not to get the light reflecting on it. That's a postcard that I bought as well. A Merlin-like picture. A wizard, you know. Though I'm going to stick a picture of Douglas Munro on here, because I actually think that in reality the wizard, Merlin, and other of the old wizards didn't really look like your typical modern day depiction of a wizard with long grey hair. They might have been greying right enough, but long grey hair and long white beards and pointed hats and doing the Gandalf thing. You shall not pass. I don't think they were like that at all. I think they were more like, I have an image in my head actually of Merlin, because I do talk to him every single day. Everywhere I go, he's with me, and he looks more like a stocky, pretty stocky, bald-headed dude, bald-headed bloke, sometimes with a bit of a temper on him. There you go, anyway. And I wouldn't say crazy, but I've heard stories of how certain of the Merlins have experienced some pretty extreme situations in life, and so some of them have gone a little bit crazy at times. You'll notice, I'll show you something here. There's a picture of me as a young lad, and this page, a boy to magic born. This was the beginning of the story. Young Arthur looked down into the sea from his perch high upon the grassy crags of Tintagel. He could watch the ocean waves breaking back and forth on the sharp borderline of rocks below. Arthur was forever watching things full of wonder, like I am, always watching things full of wonder. I love to walk in the woods plenty, or in nature plenty, anywhere in nature. And I'll tell you something very personal now. I had a double hip replacement, and I've been very close to death in my real life. And since coming back, I love the smell of the meadows. I don't use Timotei shampoo, but I love the smell of the meadows, complete with the cow shit. Okay? I love the smell of the roses and the smell of the shit. It doesn't matter to me. Okay? I love being sent on walks. I love being given tasks. I love work. Whereas for those several years before I had my double hip replacement, I was starting to hate everything in my pain. Thank you to Timothy Dougal of Wood End Hospital in Aberdeen for the wonderful attitude and the wonderful blessings he gave me about my artworks, some of which are on the wall here behind me. Look, I draw sigils and talismans. That's what I do. And I draw anatomical and biological sigils and talismans on paper, in the mud, on trees. That's what I do. You can call me crazy if you like, and I'll accept it. Okay? But that's what I do. I've since discovered that drawing sigils and talismans isn't for crazy people or sweet pink new agers. The word semiotics is something that is used by every major company, like, for instance, Mikey. You know, that tick on their drainers is a semiotic. Get it? Got it? Got ya? Got me? Gotcha! Okay? So, a boy to magic born, which is me. I was always that boy to magic born. I was known as Nature Boy. That was my nickname when I was a kid. And I've only recently been looking up what Nature Boy, the TV program, the TV series on BBC or ITV or whatever it was before even Channel 4 existed, was. And what? It's about a boy going through family traumas and stuff, and about his connection to nature, the same as mine. I used to walk for hours and hours and hours. I used to prefer being outdoors. I've already said in this video that I used to love going for long walks in the fog with certain objects in my pockets, like wooden shapes that were like spirits to me. Things I'd picked off the side of trees, nodules that I'd picked off the side of trees. Anyway, back to the point. A boy to magic born, created magical child, child, am I, of a definite devil's advocate, I'm told. Eh? My father? A definite devil's advocate. And a so-called Christian from St. Germain's Tree. Born as an angel to be a bridge between worlds. The sounds in the background are my son mooching about. Just ignore that and don't worry too much about it. I've not got the video trained on him, so you can't see him, you can only see me. So, to be a bridge between worlds, just like Jesse James. Just like Jesse James. Or is that Merlyn? We can say, a boy to magic born. We can say there is a similarity between the birth of Merlyn Emeris and myself. A magician is brought forth as such from his mother's womb, as I was. I was told when I was far younger that my father had planned my date of birth down to the time and the date that I was born on. I still don't know if I believe a single word of it, but it's a super story. Others who assume the function often wind up unhappy. And this is a saying from the Grimoire Verum 14th century. I don't really know what the Grimoire Verum is, and I'm not really interested. I'm not really over interested in grimoires as such, that are portrayed as grimoires by the mass flatheads, stiffnecks, etc. Not interested. I prefer certain works, like the works of Douglas Munro, even though a lot of the, sorry people, flatheads and stiffnecks will say he's a con man, he misquotes from various stuff. I don't know what else they've said about him, because I've not looked, because I'm not interested. Me personally, I trust his work, I trust his books, I trust his words. I don't know him personally. I don't know if he's a bad man, in reality, or a good man in reality. But I trust the works of his books. And this is where people, all judgment really amounts to judgment. All judgment amounts to judgment. Because judgment is judgment. It's nothing more, though nothing less. Judgment is judgment. So this was my brief talk about updating into an update of my look again at the 21 Lessons of Merlyn. I hope to do some more chapters and maybe finish even all 3 books, because today I sent off for the Deep Teachings of Merlyn. I had to go to an American site because for years now it's been difficult to find the Deep Teachings of Merlyn. I've had it for years in Kindle form, but it's not so easy to access Kindle books when your life is in movement or when you're in the physical world. And this is why I prefer real books that you can hold in your hand, So the deep Teachings of Merlyn is on its way to me as of today. They say it'll arrive within the next few days. I think it'll probably take 2 or 3 weeks to arrive. So I'll be surprised if it does arrive in the next 2 or 3 days, to be honest. So I hope to continue reading these, whether I'll have the actual time or not in this life that has become far more squeezing since our house fire a year ago. This is temporary digs for us. And even then, we might be out by June. It's now March. We might be out on our ear, kicked out. The rent refused to be paid by a certain giant. So, as I say, I hope to be reading more from the 21 Lessons of Merlyn here, and Douglas Munro's second book. Douglas Munro's second book. I'll get it so the light isn't fully on it. I've recovered it again, as you can see, and I've called it The Body of the Dragon. Okay? Because that's what he called it. Douglas Munro called it The Body of the Dragon. So I'm renaming it The Body of the Dragon. The Battle of the Trees, The Book of the Feralt, and The Gorkon of Maelderu. Maelderu. I find them to be beautiful books. I find them to be amazing, actually. I've lived their depths for a lot of my adult life. little known to most of the people who actually know me, because I don't boast about it, because it's actually deep. It's something that when you experience for yourself, for real, accompanies you through your depths. So it's not something you boast about. It's something that accompanies you while you build your ego, while you laugh and cry and fall and get up again and fail and succeed. It's an attitude that accompanies you throughout all of your circumstances and situations. So how can you boast about whether you reckon you're a druid or not? It's something that you embody, or that also embodies you and your behavior and your attitude and your directions and your actions, something that you body and embodies you, not something you can even boast about. Because so what if you are a druid? So what? So what if you are a psychic? So what? So what if you are a wizard? So what? Some people will respect you and some people won't. Some people will respect you if you're a plumber and some people won't. Some people will respect you if you're a dickhead and some people won't. In fact, a lot of you guys out there that are into psychic stuff and magical stuff and wizard stuff and symbology and semiotics, etc., I'm sure you know both sides of this attitude. You know both the respect and the dismissiveness you get from people when you bare your heart. Anyway, I'm rattling on. This is something out of, I showed you a minute ago. This is Systema. It's, look it up, check it out. It's a Russian martial art that I'm also very interested in. I'm very interested in many martial arts. Systema is one of them. Ninjutsu is one of them. And so for this reason, I also will say thank you to Doshi Richard Van Donk for his constant backing in the background, for his constant rooting for me the way he does and the way he can only do, because he can't interfere in my life. He can't step in any way. He can't necessarily guide me. But I know that in the distance, because he lives over in America and I live in Scotland, he has certain well wish for me that I feel from the distance. So gratitude to Doshi Richard Van Donk for gifting me the black belt trainings that he has, which I'm working through. Gratitude to Douglas Munro for the trilogy of Merlyn books, and gratitude to Timothy Dougal for fixing my hips the way he has so well. I recently was able to do a dive forward roll on concrete. I haven't done many since. That is, even though it's only 6 months since my second hip replacement and a year and a half since my first hip replacement. I'm able to kick up to about chest height, though this past 2 or 3 weeks I'm taking it real easy because I've been warned about kicking so high and about throwing myself on the ground. But I have managed that because of the visualizations that I do toward my own healing and toward my own progress in warrior attitude and warrior art. I was able to do a dive forward roll and do direct backwards break fall and forwards break falls and sideways break falls and Yoko Aruki stealth walking, which has a specific effect on the feet, the tops of the feet, the bottoms of the feet, the toes, the ankles, the shins, the knees, and the hips. This Yoko Aruki stealth walking. There's my meal arrived. So I'm going to take the opportunity and say, thank you very much, people. Thank you very much for tuning into this. And I'll maybe see you soon when I'm reading. We've got to chapter 4. So when I start reading chapter 5 onwards of the first of Douglas Munro's books, 21 Lessons of Merlyn, onwards. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I need to find the off switch now. Where's the off button?
I just gave a 2-hour talk on AI to a group of entrepreneurs in Barcelona. And
did you? That wasn't meant to happen. Where's the off switch?
This is what I said. Quit working Fridays. There is...
As I tugged on my clothes and hurried down towards the woods, my heart pounded with each step closer to my destination. Never had I felt so compelled about anything. What truly worried me was that the thought that my magical pebble might simply be a common stone.
But
and Merlyn himself,
wonder,
just
actually,
a crazy traveller,
if I
playing
allow
upon
this
the
to play
hopes
for a
and
little while,
imagination
if
of an orphan
YouTube
boy.
would say I'm breaching
But
copyright,
doubt as I might,
it's my
there remained
reading,
a voice
so
deep
if I
within
had to,
me
I would fight for
that
it,
cried out in joy
and I
at
would
the
win
prospect
because
of
it's
some
my
mystical
reading.
apprenticeship under
YouTube
the
does
druid
not
from
own it.
Iona.
I own it.
Something told me with certainty
for now,
that I was soon to
I'll
encounter
just
the
keep the
first
fight to
real
myself.
truths I had ever known.